Hey guys, it's Staci and Hutch. Say too much. Oh, we have to do an intro.
Hello. Yes, welcome to our podcast called Stacy
Yes,
and Hutch Say Too Much. We are so pleased you could join us.
this intro brought to you by our social media director. He's gonna love that. Hey, should I let Matt in? Let's let him in,
Yes, please let my friend Matt Blades in.
and then we'll talk to him.
Hi, Matt.
What's
Look,
up, guys?
you have a fancy little setup there.
I do. Oh, wow. All right, cool. It doesn't feel so fancy. In fact, I've been kind of feeling like maybe it's time for a set change, but maybe you just put some wind in my sail. Thank you.
Well, first off, we should announce that Matt and Stacy have worked together in the past, and
Long time ago.
do you
Another
guys
lifetime ago, Hutch.
Yeah.
you
Another
guys look the
lifetime
same,
ago.
right? Everyone looks the same.
You know,
Uh,
kinda.
my hair's a lot longer and a lot blonder,
That's for sure. That's for
but I
sure.
haven't aged a bit.
Oh
Yeah,
God, there's something happening.
I like to think I had neither, but we have to reminisce and go back to the days of 104.7 KCLD,
Is
and
that where
for
we were?
that's where we were. And for radio nerds, my favorite part about this story is that we had the longest positioning statement in the history of radio. And if you had a 9-second intro, you were screwed. All you could do was say the name of the radio station, the position, and you were dead. And that's going
Do
to
you
be one of
remember
the
it?
things. That's 104.7 KCLD giving you a better music mix and always at least 10 songs in a row
Songs in a
every
row.
hour. Hi there. It was a monster, man. It was a monster. But I always I look back fondly on that group. You know, that seems like that early scrappy group of people who got together. And look, man, some of us went off and did a little something with it.
We did
Um,
something.
we should real quick address two situations here.
Go.
Stacy's eyes. Do you want to talk about your eyes real quick, Stacy?
Yeah, this you probably can't really tell too much right now, but they're a little funky looking because I had to have something removed from this one that was very near my, too close to the eye muscle eyeball that my dermatologist said you have to go to a plastic surgeon. So I did,
Mm.
and it's now the swelling is down, but I do have some pretty major bruising, and I've got a lot of makeup caked on it so that I don't frighten people when I see them in public. So I feel like I look not much like myself. So if you're thinking she doesn't look like herself, that is why. So I
Well,
don't
and you got
feel
to use the word a little swelling, which is always fun, right? Like
a little
anytime there's
swelling.
a little
So
swelling and some,
Well,
it's a nice convo.
she should have told you what her eyes looked like hit them when she got out of them, but I don't know if we can say
Ah.
it. It's a podcast, right?
right. What
Go
were you
ahead.
going to say about them?
They looked like two balls hit them, just balls, like
Just, big balls in a
So
big
like big,
in a big
like
after the
sack.
procedure, I had to ice my balls, my eyeballs,
your
for a
eyeballs. Yes.
while. And I'd like
The
to
other
point
situation.
out
Go
too,
ahead.
Hutch, is you've spelled your name wrong.
Oh,
Do
I
you
did.
realize that? H
Well, listen.
U
So
T X H.
okay, so this was a
I thought
last
he
minute
looked
thing.
drunk. I'm not gonna lie. I thought he maybe looked a little drunk.
Well, if you guys don't notice, I'm sitting in a car in a gas
Yeah.
station next to an
Why?
emergency room. Well, because this was kind of a last minute thing. Matt had texted us during the show and said, "Hey, and we're like, hey, we're doing this thing. You're doing this thing." And I'm like, well, I was driving home like, oh crap, I should got some stuff at Target. And then at 7:15, I'm like, well, let's go ahead and just pull over and do it here.
I
What the
love
hey?
that. I love it.
You know,
And this is what's so beautiful about radio in 2022 and podcasting in 2022.
Yeah, yeah.
You can do it from the Jack in the Box parking lot. It's beautiful.
Exactly. Right.
Let's talk real quick about first off, we all have something in common, and that's your former boss and our boss, and we're gonna need some secrets and dirt on
Right.
Matt with one T. Uh,
Him and I are one of 3 people in the world that I know who have a single T legally in their first name, Matthew.
oh, you're a one T
He's
too.
a
I
single
am
T as
too.
well.
And we were in the
Yeah.
room one time with somebody you guys might play, Matt Carney, and he
Oh,
too
sure.
he has a Matt with one T. And it was the only time we were here in Phoenix, and all 3 of us were in the room. And I said, guys, this is a real moment. There are 3 Matts with one T. I don't know how many more are on planet Earth, but I don't think that's a big club.
That's
Real
very
question.
exciting.
before we get to your whole cool thing that you're doing,
Sure.
was it ever hard to realize when he was happy or sad? Because he always
Matt?
had the same. Yeah.
Okay, so he's so even, right? And he's so deadpan, and he literally could be saying something and dying laughing inside, and you'd have no idea. Yeah, it was always confusing, of course.
Yes, very,
If
very
you guys
scary.
ever meet him, some people met him at the state fair. You will understand what we're talking about. So we'll
Yeah,
let's do that. Matt, let's
he's
talk
a,
about you.
he's a good Kansas kid.
He's a
Yes.
good guy.
Yeah.
He likes the Chiefs, but we'll get past that.
So
You
Mathew Blades has been in radio as long as just about everybody I know. 27-year radio career.
Yeah.
You just gave up your radio career. You did mornings since 2010 in Scottsdale, right?
Yeah,
Or
down here in
Scottsdale?
Phoenix, right? Yep.
Oh, Phoenix, right? Phoenix. And you left December 10th. Must have been a scary move. I can't imagine.
Yeah, right. But nothing is terrifying as I mean, listen, if you guys don't mind, let's just go into the deep end of the pool, right? That's where it's fun to swim. So about 7 or 8 months ago, I started getting to what I'll call kind of the end of my road and really getting to a crossroads mentally, physically. Things were starting to wear down. And I just really wasn't in a very good place. Mind, body, and soul were completely messed up and really tapped out. And, you know, in a job like ours and in a career that we kind of have, it is a very hyper focused, high demand job. And I love that. And I loved that pace for a long time. But I think over time that pace began to kind of wear down on me. And so I ended up kind of like July 12th, I had a panic attack. And it was the third of and final. Thank you. But it was so intense and it lasted so long that I ended up going to the emergency room 10 hours later because I was convinced something was wrong with me. And when I got in and they did all the tests, guys, you know, what they found out was nothing was wrong with me, you know, and I kind of remembered sitting in that chair thinking to myself, you know, like I think all of us know when our crap is catching up with us a little bit. And I kind of was pretty aware that there were a few things that I probably needed to do a little bit more work on, and they were bubbling up, and I just couldn't hide it anymore. You know, I think that's the interesting thing about COVID, and you guys probably say this all the time too, is that it simply exposed a lot of things. I don't know that it created so much as it just exposed a lot of us, and myself included. And so in July, I ended up going to my management at my radio station, and I said, I have to quit my job right now. And they said, well, hold on. You don't have to quit your job right now. Why don't you take a few months off and the job will be here when you get back and we can just do it like that. And I said, I don't think you guys get it. I'm done with this career. This career for me is over, and there's something now that I know I need to go do. And I'm leaving out a very critical piece of this story, which is that I checked myself into a 4-day, pretty intensive mental and spiritual holistic retreat in Sedona. And I worked 4 days with shamans and healers and therapists. And we did ceremonies and, we did a lot of serious mental health and wellness work and spiritual wellness too. And when I walked out of that retreat, I felt like a different character in the movie. And I was so changed that I literally came out and I walked into my my boss's office and I said, I have to quit my job. This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing anymore. I have full direction now on where things need to go. And thank God, and you guys know how rare this is in our industry, but thank God I worked for seriously gracious people who understood what I needed to do and they let me go do it.
So
because a lot of people don't know that there's a contract and you can't just walk away from your contract usually.
They make it harder. And
right.
These guys didn't. They made everything really easy because I think they understood what was going on.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
what were you going to say, Hutch?
One of the crazy things about how all this happened, and I don't think people understand that don't get anxiety attacks or panic attacks, is that most of them, at least for me, come out of nowhere. There's no reason for them. or the reasons are not understood by the person having them. But B is that it's really hard to pinpoint what you need to do to fix that attack, A, when it's happening, but B, in the long term. And your idea to go to this retreat or therapy, or what you did for the many days you did, how did you come to that, saying, okay, this is what I need to go, and I need to go here and do this and find this help?
Yeah, so I done a lot of work on the mind body connection to pain and disease, and listen, this is like I'm not going to get real heady, so don't worry, I'm not going to jump out into too much of the deep end. But basically, there's a guy named Dr. John Sarno, and he's written a couple of books for people that have back pain. Right, that's a real common thing. I was one of those people. I had back pain for a lot of years, and then I read Dr. Sarno's book, and so really it's about the mind-body connection. And when our body is in pain or dis-ease, right, it's sending us a signal to do something about it, to go and work on it, to get it fixed. And if it's physical and it's structural, that's one thing. But a lot of times what you find out when you get into this space is that your neck pain, your back pain, all that stuff, it's stress. It's things that are going on in your life. And so that, to answer your question about why I knew I needed to go to the retreat, was I had what I affectionately referred to and lovingly as my trauma trilogy, right? And that's just a cute little catchphrase that I hang my hat on now. But, I think most people can relate to having a few marks along the way. I had some early exposure to adult content. I had a mom who used spanking as a primary means of discipline. And then probably the biggest mark of all was when I was 23 years old. My father dropped dead in front of me of a heart attack, and I tried to save his life, and I couldn't. And that had a really long-lasting impact on me, even though after those moments I'd gone to work. I did. I got in with therapists. I tried to, I understood the magnitude of the event. I went, I did some therapy on it, and really thought I was okay. But what I came to learn in the end was that I didn't do enough work in those spaces. And there were just things that I was hanging on to, and we all are, right? I call it our story, where we all have one based on the things that have happened to us. And your story, if you're not really careful, is one of those things that can really own you if you don't own it. And the problem with that is that when you're not operating from a really great system, everybody's getting a worse version of you. And so the motivation to work on yourself and work on your story is that not just you, but like the entire tribe around you starts to feel the trickle effect right away, because now you're you. Now you're the best version of yourself. And you guys are radio people, like I'm a radio person, right? We tend to give and go and do. And what we should be probably telling our radio friends right now is slow down and just be for a few minutes.
Well, then that tribe too,
and see what comes to you.
That tribe too is there are things, I'm going through a divorce right now. Staci has gone through her second 2 years ago, but there's a time where Staci wanted to come to me and say, hey, look, something's affecting you, and I could see it. And I wanted to say the same to Staci. I mean, hell, she had this was like 3 months, 5 months ago, major health issues, but we couldn't pinpoint. I say we because we only have each other right now.
Right.
Major health issues that were going on with her that we couldn't talk about on the air and couldn't ask for advice on the air. And all of a sudden her life just gets a little bit better, and those health issues just kind of start to dwindle,
It's not a mistake. Yes. It's not a mistake, Staci and Hutch. It's not. There's so much out there right now about that deals with the mind-body connection to pain and disease. And doctors, they have a name for it. It's called oxidative stress. And basically and I didn't know any of this a few months ago, right? This is all new stuff that I feel like I need to tell everybody now, is that like when you have a stressful experience, when you have a hard day, call it whatever you want, you release these free radicals in your body. And the problem is that unless you're taking something to help you balance the NRF, those cells, like an NRF1 or a 2 or something like that, they tend to gravitate toward the crap. And that's the blue collar way of explaining how you get a bad back. If you look at some of the old Asian texts and Buddhism and some of those stuff. I mean, they really draw direct parallels to money and hip pain, money and right back pain, lack of support and left side. I mean, like there's all this stuff out there that I was one of these people who I thought I knew a lot, but it turns out I didn't know the right stuff. So yeah, it's really fascinating. And for people who might have just had an aha moment there about that connection, it's really worth it to explore that and to look into what's going on and see if that is the root cause of what's happening, because a lot of times it is. Now, sometimes it's not. You got to be careful, right? But a lot of times it is.
That is fascinating. I mean, I think instinctively we all know, because if you see like an ex walking down the street and you're like, oh God, I'm just ill looking at that person heading my way. Let's cross the street, you know? So, you know, in a bare bones way, you know, it's there. But I you know, things like, you know, back pain on the right side, left side with money. I think there is something to that for sure. Absolutely. But
you can start to notice, right? The next time you get a little bit of a back pain, start to think about what's happened that day. Next time you get that migraine, start to think about what's happened that day. And 9 times out of 10, I'll bet you're going to recognize. And the cool thing about it is, right? Like, here's the benefit to this, right? When you figure that out, then you can be kind of what I call become friends with the pain. I know that sounds really like hippie-like, but you invite the pain in, and all of a sudden the pain's your friend, and you're not fighting the pain anymore, right? We have the stress because we're always trying to make it better and fix it and do it, and literally what we need to do is sit down and be and breathe. And so and did like you, Hutch, I was the same. All 3 of my panic attacks are what they called nocturnal panic attacks, meaning they came to me in the middle of the night for no reason. 1, 2, and 3 o'clock in the morning were the times that I got mine, and they were all just bizarre in their own right.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy that you're saying all this and inviting the pain in, or, you know, at least expressing it and talking about it and laying it notes there, instead of what us guys do. And what drives Staci crazy is pushing it away and letting it build up to where it becomes painful. You know, and so when people are listening right now, and we talk about the start of 2022 and New Year's resolutions and finding ourselves and all of that, the story that I want to share, I never was going to share this story, but you know, with work and how stressful it is, and trying to have that top position and doing all that, and then having our boss come in, Matt, you know, we had a meeting where I felt tense things with Matt and he didn't feel those with me. As we talked, Matt is hard to read. And so when Matt thinks you do well, it's the same face as when he thinks you do horrible, you know? And so I'm not that type of person. I'm like, hey, tell me your feelings. Tell me this, tell me this. And when there's that disconnect and it builds up and you don't say anything to that person, or you don't address that pain, whether it be emotional or physical or mental, it really builds up. And one time we had that meeting and Matt's like, okay, what's up? You know, and everything just came out. Yeah. And once he said that to me, like everything just came out, and I have never felt happier. You know, and I always loved KS95 and working there, but in my even personal life, just it was that one thing that was affecting my physicality and my mental awareness. And I never knew it was that, just that little thing could be.
Yeah, the relief. You're so relieved after that was done. Like it just like you just had a different like vibe about you afterwards.
Yeah, it's amazing. And literally what happened there, Hutch, was you moved space, right? There's something that I learned along the way called you know, putting things out into the consciousness. To a degree, we must articulate our thoughts, especially those things that are inside that feel a little ugly, or we're not sure how they're going to be received when we say them out loud. It's critical that you just have the messy, awkward conversation, because you will always feel lighter on the other side. You will always feel worse the other way. And
but what's really crappy about that is that, sorry, Staci, I'm having my own therapy moment right now.
No, it's fine. I'm learning from this.
What's really crappy about that guy is that okay, we become emotional, and then we're too emotional, and that's a bad thing. But then we keep it in, and it builds up, and that's a bad thing as well.
So with guys, our biggest thing is flow. And that's a word that if there were one word in 2022 that I'm choosing for my own self to really embrace, it's flow. Balance is BS. That is a thing that you're never going to achieve, is balance. And what I learned in my retreat was that what's mandatory for us is to get back into flow. What can you do and be all the time, right? You can't be up all the time. You can't be down all the time. What can you be all the time? And so that's what I mean by flow, and trying to figure out where that's coming from. And then that other piece that you just mentioned about talking about it, this is the thing, is that when you build it up, then it comes out uglier than it should. And if we would, and listen, you may need to do a little bit of work too to figure out why you don't feel like you can say those things right out loud right away in that moment, right? And that's worth it. That's worth checking out. I know for me, Hutch, I relate to you. I spent a lot of my career maybe not articulating all the thoughts that I should have. And in those moments where I was a great and effective communicator, everything was better.
It's funny how, people in radio tend to be the worst communicators.
It's the truth. Well, we spend our whole day. And listen, it's not our fault. It's not totally our fault. We spend our whole day communicating with other people. And most of us who have been doing this for a really long time, we really love our audience. They are our people, and we take it so seriously. And there is a little something that can happen there where you can kind of deplete out a little bit and get tired. But I went to a marriage class. This is a great story. Like 2003. And we're in this class, and the priest is up front, and she says, or the minister's up front, and she says, okay, guys, women have about 40,000 words a day that they use. Men have about 10,000 words a day that they use. So when your dude comes home and he's done talking, he's not mad at you. There's nothing wrong. He simply used up all of his words, and you have more left. And I just always loved that, I always love that sentiment that as dudes, we somehow have less words that we're capable of speaking, but
ran out.
We ran out, right? And so if you're a radio guy, boy, you damn ran out before you even finished your show.
Yep. Yeah.
So true. That's so true.
You did.
Well,
you did.
I really want to bring up your new podcast. Like,
cool.
It's your newest podcast, I suppose. You've got a passion project. I know you are finishing up a book too that is of the same name, but it's called Learn from People Who Lived It, all one word. And it's about people who've had some unimaginable circumstances happen to them, and somehow they still were able to get through this, heal, and learn from it. Can you kind of give us some ideas of what kind of stories they have?
Sure. Well, my own, we start right like that. That's one of those things where getting over the trauma of losing my father was a difficult thing. But let's talk about the people that we have on the show, because it's just, I don't know, something about this feels really unique, and it feels really special. We've got a woman, Carrie, whose son died at 19 of an accidental overdose. And it was fentanyl, and like that, her son's taken away from her. And so that's one version of trauma. Episode 2 is a dude named Ryan, who was an Air Force guy who liked to BMX bike race, and one race took his ability to walk. Okay. Ooh. So that's a whole different kind of trauma. And now he's talking about, and listen, he's a superhero, right? Like, he went to Tokyo last year and won the bronze medal in hand cycling. Like, he's beast mode. This guy absolutely took the power of the chair and harnessed it. And of course, it doesn't mean
I never knew what to do with my hands.
Yeah, right.
I just
and you should see these guys zip around on these hand cycles too, man. They are low to the ground. They are aerodynamic. They got suits on and the whole thing. It is a wild ride in every sense of the word.
I've got a crazy cat trying to bite me.
Oh, good. I locked my door so they didn't come in.
I want to say something too about you've got some great episodes, and people that are listening right now, I have two questions, and you know how radio is. If you forget one, you're never going to remember it. But the first thing is about your dad, and it's people listening right now and be like, okay, he's saying his trauma is that he's lost my dad. A lot of people lose their dad. A lot of people um, maybe not have had their dad die in their arms or trying to save them like you have, but how does trauma different? Why does trauma different from someone who has lost their dad to someone else who has lost their dad?
I don't think it is. And that's the coolest thing that comes about in this podcast, right? Is that we all like to think that we're pretty unique and we're pretty special in our own right, but there are so many common threads to all of our traumas, right? And really the key to this whole thing is that you for so many people, that moment becomes the mark, and it becomes the thing that defines them, right? As a person, I am this person, this man, this woman, whatever those words are, right? And so a lot of people have had to lose a dad. I think the trauma of actually having to be there and try to save him and be ineffective was a little bit of a next level experience, and probably lent to a little bit more of one of those post-traumatic events, those really traumatic events that happens in your life that, unless you go to work on it, is probably going to work you over quite a bit. But it's a lot of people have lost people and they are doing great and they're doing wonderful and they feel healed and they feel all of those things, right? And what I tell people all the time now is I say, this thing that I've got going on isn't for everybody. It's for the right people. And it's for the right people who have been sitting around going, there might be a couple of things I need to work on. There might be some from my past, some mommy stuff, some daddy stuff, some brother, sister stuff, old ex stuff, whatever, old work stuff. We all have things happen to us along the way. And if you're having that nagging thought where you're thinking, I think this thing still has me, that's the folks that I'm saying, that's worth exploring. Go do that. Because I'm acutely aware of the fact that I think there's a lot of really happy, healthy people out there who are kicking ass and taking names and doing great. But I know that when I was in the mud, man, and I was articulating that while I was going through it, boy, did I feel like I had an army of people that were going through the exact same thing. It's kind of what it felt like to me anyways.
Wow. We talk about mental health quite a bit on our show too. So this kind of feels like a whole new level that we're teaching people. So thanks for coming on the show with us.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. And listen, if I can impress anything upon anybody here is that, if you taking care of yourself requires a few things, right? Your hunger, your exercise, your tired, and you're taking care of your body. Those are the things that are your responsibility. They're not your partner's responsibility. They're not your wife's, your husband's, your coworkers, your friends, anybody's, right? It's your job to take good care of yourself and feed yourself right. It's your job to make sure you're getting enough sleep. It's your job to manage your disease and your illness when they come. And they actually include dental care in this thing about taking care of yourself. And so if you can manage and simplify your life to say, I'm going to get a hold of those 4 areas for 90 days, I think some neat things start to happen.
And
Does that include beard? Does that include beard grooming?
Sure.
And that's the thing is a lot of people, I've heard this before, 2022, it's the year of me, it's the year of taking care of myself. And so is that your recommendation then, that first 90 days to start that process if you're truly thinking about it and truly want to do it?
It is. It's such a great place to start because if you're similar to me, working on yourself and doing something for yourself can feel selfish, and it can feel like I don't need to do this for myself, But a lot of us are in such a self-love deficit right now that you could pour into yourself for the next 3 weeks and it still wouldn't be enough, right? You've been giving for so long that you could do this for 3 weeks and it still wouldn't be enough. And so, yeah, what I do now for a living, this is fun, right? Like what I do now for a living is I go into schools and I talk to kids and I talk to their parents at night about this very thing. What's your job to take care of? And then if your story's owning you, it's time to kind of own your story and figure that piece out. So Yeah, great place to start. Manage those 4 things and literally see what happens in your life. They're so basic and boring, but they're so effective.
But again, resolution. This is not a resolution. This is, it's not a life change. It's how do you do that when it's so easily to give up?
Yeah, you just have to want to, right? And that's the thing. You really just have to find yourself in a place, because this is like a lot of things, right? It's like, I mean, insert any other kind of addiction, whatever you want to call it, right? The addict is not going to change the behavior until they're ready to, and so you will just have to you'll find yourself in a place where you say, I'm ready, and this feels right, and now I'm ready to commit. But start small, start basic. Don't jump the whole way. If you
don't try to be perfect. You can't be perfect. Yeah.
Try to get to flow, guys. I mean, there's a few mantras that I have from my retreat, and a couple of the more beautiful ones are get back to knowing because you do. And what that means to me is we all kind of know when we feel our best. We all kind of know when we probably should say no to something, but we say yes. And so if you can challenge yourself to get back to knowing because you do, that's a real simple way to love on yourself. And then the other thing, and that I just love to say to everybody, because they were life-changing words for me, which is this bit about you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You probably just need to step into your life's purpose more. And that changed my life. Those 3 sentences changed my life. And I said, you're right. I'm not broken. There is nothing wrong with me. I'm just not doing what I love anymore. And now I am. And the difference is a completely different character in the movie.
Wow.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's awesome. Cool. And we all can do it, guys. Like every single one of us is the elephant tied to a plastic chair. We really are. At any moment, we could seriously just get up and go and do what we want. There will be ramifications. There'll be consequences if you're in contracts and you have things to work out. And, of course, there might be some moving parts, but we all have the ability to do what we want right now.
So should I tell Matt I'm quitting right now? Is that how?
Is this it? Is this the note? So there's an opening. So there's an opening, Staci. Is that what I'm hearing?
You can get out of contract with the station, but you can't get out of the one you make with me, sucker.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a good relationship.
It's like a deal with the devil, Matt. Yeah. It's like a deal with the devil.
Hey,
I make cookies.
Did Staci ever tell you about the co-host that she had that licked the Twinkies for her? Did she tell you about that one?
Is Twinkies keyword for anything?
No, it was Peeps. No. It was marshmallow Peeps.
Oh, Peeps. Sorry.
God. I like the sugary part on the outside, but I didn't really care so much for the marshmallow part. So I would just sort of suck the sugar off, and then I would put it down on a paper napkin, and then you would eat the rest of it. It's so gross.
I don't think people understand the relationship of radio people with each other. I mean, I would never do that. But
this is before COVID was even a thought. This is well before that.
Yeah, because now I'm not even sure that you can share a bottle of water with somebody, right? Like the rules are they're like 180 with shared food and drink. That's a pretty good story.
Do you miss radio?
Not even for a second. Not right now. Not yet. I mean, my last show was December 10th, and I haven't thought about it. I haven't gone back to listen to it. I've been so focused on this project and releasing the podcast and mastering this motivational speaking, and then working on series number 2, which I think is going to be exclusively for veterans, because I understand the importance of that whole piece with my brother who did 4 tours. And I've just been getting lots of people reaching out in my community that I have down here in Phoenix, and they all seem to be in that space. And so I got the message, right? The universe is sending me signals, and the difference between now and 8 months ago is I'm listening and I'm receiving it, and I'm not arguing.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Going with the flow. Go with the flow.
Yeah. I'm flowing, guys.
Well, we're gonna have to check in with you in 90 days and see where Staci and I are at, right?
I love it, guys. Hey, listen, I left retreat in July 21st, I think, was when I left my retreat, and so here in a couple of weeks, it's 6 a good 6 months. And I tell everybody, I feel the way today that I did the day I left that retreat. And so it's a new committed change in lifestyle, and anybody can do it. If this little dude can do it, anybody can.
We do have some
Wow.
radio copy we need you to cut, though. So we're gonna
Good.
email
Yeah.
it to you.
Let me get the bumpers and everything recorded for you guys.
All right. Matt, thanks for joining us, man. We're gonna talk to you soon. We should do a Father's Day thing too, because I know you've got a podcast about dads and how they interact with kids.
Oh, yeah.
And so we should do a Father's Day thing too.
I'm all about it, man. Let's do it. And we need it more than ever right now. We need dads to step up and just be more emotional with their kids. And it's a super win for everybody. Trust me.
Cool. All right. Thanks, man.
Cool, man. Thank you, guys.
Cool.
There you
See
go.
you later.
I'll
Take care.
dug out. I'll ball out. Bow out.
Wow.
God, I can't.
Can't do that?
You've run out of words. He's run out of
gone.
words.
He's
My
gone.
lights went out. My lights went out on Broadway. I don't know what happened, but
Oh,
I
I'm
don't
in
know.
my car. I have makeshift lights. See, I just do this. Now I'm a creep
Wow.
sitting in a gas station.
No, that's all right. What a story. I mean, I remember in July when I would see on Instagram, he had videos of him in the hospital and saying, "Thanks for your concern, everybody." I was like, what is going on with Blades? And
Yeah.
then I'd see another one and I'm like, I could probably check in with him and see what's happening. And I never got a chance to do that. And well, then I see this podcast he's doing. I'm like, something's different. And then we hooked up
Yeah.
on LinkedIn and wow, that's interesting. It's so hard to chill though, especially doing what we do. I understand now why he quit cold turkey doing radio, because it's not easy. It's not easy,
No.
guys. It's not easy. It's
Yeah.
fun most of the time,
Yeah.
but it does take over your life. I mean, hence two
Well,
marriages.
we do it because we love it, I mean,
Yeah.
there's no doubt in that, and it's a fun job, and being on the air 2 to 7 and all that stuff for us is great. It's just, we talk about it all the time, and I don't want this to be a poor us, because listen, there's
Yeah,
tons of
no.
people out there that have jobs that are way harder than ours, and
For
but
sure.
I've always said that mentally, if I had to pick, something other than radio, I would rather do something physical. I would rather be
Really?
a construction work. Well, I mean, it's so mental, what we do, and
Yeah.
it's so draining, and you get so tired by the end of the day
Yeah.
because we have to keep our energy up.
Yeah.
That you'd rather do something that's just physical. So at least you know why you're tired. You know why you don't want to do this weekend or get out of bed. Where mentally you're like, I mean, I should be doing stuff because I wasn't physically, exerting myself.
Right. I just mean that it's very unique. It's not exactly what people think it is. I mean, you hear us on the air, and a lot of people think the job starts at 2 and it ends at 7, and nothing happens in between. Really, it's just us playing. But there's a lot that happens before, during, and after, and it's just very different. And it's hard for people who aren't in our business to understand that. So it makes for, I can't tell you how many Christmases I missed, how many, family gatherings, how many weddings I had to pass,
Well,
and
even that, but it's funny because when you announced your divorce and I announced my divorce, it wasn't like, I mean, yours more than mine. Yours was more shocking because it was
Yeah.
shocking to you.
Yes.
But as we talk about it, we knew that it was coming,
Right.
and we weren't telling those stories on the air.
Right.
Who wants to hear those stories of sadness or arguments or, just
Right.
growing apart?
Sure.
And so that's on your mind, and then you have to be happy about something that's sad.
Right.
You have to,
And you're sitting there going, oh my God, I have to figure out where I'm going to live and how I'm going to move this stuff. And I have to do it, between the
Well,
hours of,
that was the easy part. You just call AAA,
True.
Yeah.
But I got to figure out where am I going to live. And I'm like looking
Yeah.
out the window and I'm like, I'm going to live across the street from the station. That's probably the easiest place for me to move. What's the rent? I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't have time to think about it,
Right.
And then we're like, it's time for the big hairy question. Oh!
Yeah, you're right. It's that stuff. Then you flip the switch and you're on.
Yeah. But it was kind of a sanctuary though, going to the station and doing the show was sanctuary. It's like, this is the one spot where everything is going to be okay from 2 until 7. This is going to be our fun spot where nothing bad's going to happen to me. From 2 until 7, I'm there with my pal, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's and we know everyone has this in their own job, you know,
Of
and
course.
especially customer service. Um,
Yeah.
but you know, it's so hard just to keep that mentality up. And I'm glad we talked to him. He's a good guy. So
Yes, he's
um,
very cool.
yeah. So there you
Can't
go.
believe it's been so long.
2022,
Yeah.
the year of
The
me.
year of you and me, all of us.
Yeah,
We
the
all
year of
really
all of
need,
us.
we just need to chill out and find ourselves. And I think if we can all calm down a little bit,
Well,
it's
and that's
hard.
funny that you say that. I know we're running out of time, but who cares? Um,
Yeah.
I know that you say that. It's like everyone just needs to be nicer. Well, how about we just focus on ourselves? And if we're chill and we're stress
We
free
don't have time to be mean to people.
and we're relaxed, yeah, and we're relaxed, then we don't, you know, if we can focus on ourselves to do that, then that Karen, if she's doing the same thing,
She
you
won't
know,
get all mean. Yeah.
who knows? I think
Because
the gas
sometimes
station's
when,
gonna kick me out of here.
yeah, they're gonna ask you why you're there. Are you waiting to do a drug deal?
Well, no, I'm selling my body. I'm waiting for
Oh,
someone to. I'm gonna
they're
wait for
like,
someone to come.
nobody has that kind of change, sir.
Sir, there's no coupons taken for your body. So there's a,
Do
you
you
know.
accept food stamps?
I will. Oh, at this point, yes, I'll accept
Hmm.
anything.
All
All
right.
right.
Well,
Well, this was fun, Stace. I enjoyed this one.
I did too. So
Hey,
anyway,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. This is the
Yes.
first episode of the new year. This is
Yes.
like season 2.
Do we have to do an outro?
Oh, do we?
That was Stacy and Hutch say too much.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time. P.S.
Bye.
The ants are still alive. I swear.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.